Fanos, Happy New Year and thank you ever so much for joining us. As you say, it's a new year. Just tell us in general terms what your ambitions and hopes are for Worcestershire in 2022.
Happy New Year, John, and Happy New Year to our members, supporters and sponsors. Our hopes and ambitions for this coming year. On the pitch, I think it's really a continued improvement, really. We want to see some of the draws in red ball cricket converted into more wins, and therefore that will see us go up the table quite quickly, we hope. And in white ball cricket, I think we should be competing in every tournament. Off the pitch, really continuing what we've seen over the last kind of 3 to 4 months. We've had some brilliant feedback from those that have attended many events in the last quarter. December we did have many cancellations, but we had many people that filled in those spots, and the feedback generally has been very, very positive. So we want to see that continue. So high hopes and high expectations for 2022.
It's hard to believe it's nearly 2 years since this pandemic struck this country, March 2020. Can you just give us an update on the current financial position at Worcestershire?
We've currently got the auditors in now because our year end is to the end of December. I think 2021 was a very, very difficult year for us. We've already mentioned publicly that as a consequence of COVID, it impacted revenues by about £1.5 million, and our costs were a lot higher as well. To make sure we were kind of as COVID protected as we could be, and that was a 6-figure number. And also we didn't have, furlough that kind of saved us in 2020. So I think 2021 financially is harder than 2020 for those reasons I've just given. But that said, though, I think we've got a brilliant team here, led by Sarah and also Sarah Glias and also Dave Hoskins, and I think that I would be really, really surprised if we didn't kind of hit around the break-even figure, which I think is a brilliant result for our club.
The good thing is at the moment all winter sports seem to be continuing, and they're all continuing with full capacity crowds. Are you optimistic that come April the same will apply at New Road, and will members be able to enjoy use of facilities?
I'm always optimistic. But these things are not in our gift, really. We've just got to wait and see. I look at the numbers now in terms of pressures on certain hospitals and how many people are affected by this new Omicron variant. So we've just got to wait and see. That said, though, I would hope by the start of the season, which is 12 weeks away, things will improve, and hopefully a lot of our facilities will be available to members, including part, if not all, of the Graham Hick Pavilion. So we shall wait and see.
The relationship between members and players and the coaches there has always been very strong. How important is it, because obviously of the bubbles and everything, that is reconnected in 2022 when hopefully members and players and coaches will be able to speak to each other closely again? Yeah,
I think interaction, amongst players and amongst coaching staff and members and everybody is really, really important. It's part of the kind of joy of sport, and we've not been able to do that last year. And I think it's really important. It's not, by the way, it's not just members and players. You've got players that were all in bubbles last year when they were training as well, to kind of prevent that kind of COVID risk. So I think it's really, really important that we all kind of integrate and mingle more. And I think members will love getting to know the coaches and the coaching staff a bit better, because there are many sides to them, and I find them very engaging. I think they're very thoughtful. I think it's a brilliant coaching team, and I think members will be impressed when they get to know them a bit better over the coming season, all being well.
The club have appointed recently a new head of facilities. She has got vast experience from Worcester Warriors and Gloucester. She already seems to be making her mark.
Yes, we couldn't announce her name before she started. Helen Greyer joined us on the 1st of November, and she's already made a huge impression. She's hired a couple of people already. One started this week and has already been jet washing the ramp. She's got a list a lot longer than my arm, because it's quite a short one, but as long as your arm, John, of things to do, and we're confident that she'll get round to it. So yeah, we're really excited about Helen joining. As I mentioned in the last recording. It's a very, very senior hire for us. We recognise there's lots that we need to do. They recognise that we couldn't do it last year because of staffing problems and COVID restrictions. But I mean, it is such a senior hire that she reports directly to me and indeed directly into the board as well.
Now, as we look out over in New Road today, even though it's a grey day, the wicket, the outfield, the square looks in marvellous condition. The extra investment you've put into that seems to be paying handsome dividends.
Yeah, I mean, it does look lush, very lush, John. I mean, it's not just about investment. I mean, we have spent considerably more on the grounds, in the off season. In up to 30,000. Normally we spend about 10 to 12,000. So that kind of indicates, how serious we've been taking it. But it's not just about, how much money you spend. It's about, changing the way you do things. It's about relying on new experts. And we've had expert agronomists that have been advising, the ground staff, and they've changed the way that they do things. We've had new suppliers that have come in and kind of changed the way we've perhaps done things over the last kind of 10 to 20, 30 years. And also I think, going back to, the appointment of a new facilities manager, she's very experienced and the whole ground staff report directly into her. So, that's part of, the planning that we're doing to hopefully improve things.
One of the most exciting things this time of the year for members and supporters is when the fixtures come out. They like to book their holidays for games at New Road. They like to book their hotels for away matches. Can you give us an update on when they may be coming out?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that things have been delayed, because normally you get a good understanding of that by the end of November, and it's leaked by certain parties, and by December everyone knows what the schedule's looking like. My understanding is, from a good source, is that the expectation is that those fixtures will be out in the next kind of 2 to 3 weeks, and hopefully that will help members in terms of booking hotels and stuff for away fixtures. It is frustrating, and we hope it gets resolved quite quickly.
A lot of members have been commenting about how excited they've been about the form of Matthew Wade. You must be really looking forward for when he joins up in April, because he looks an amazing player. Yeah,
I mean, Matthew Wade was, we brought him in for, because he's such a brilliant player, and not just in terms of his own contributions, which have been vast. If you look at what his achievements in the T20, World Cup, but also in the Big Bash, I think he's in the top 5 run scorers. This is somebody that's kind of international pedigree. He's bringing his family over. He's committed to what we're trying to achieve. So I think he's a really, really important addition to our team, not just to kind of help some of the younger players, but also some of the established players as well. This is a world-class international wicket-keeper. He can help people like Ben Cox improve. He can help people like Gareth Roderick improve as well, and he can help the whole winning mindset, which I think is vital in elite sport.
Matthew will be a new player, but equally encouraging is 7 of the current squad have signed new contracts. That's very encouraging. They've obviously bought into the ongoing project we've got here at New Road. Yeah,
it's Paul Pridgeon has been working very, very hard, as he has done consistently as chair of the cricket steering group and also as vice chairman of the club. It's very, very encouraging that 7 players have re-signed for us. Hopefully they can see where we're headed, and hopefully see the ambition that we have, and hopefully the way that we do things appeals to them. I think it is encouraging. If people leave, it's always a shame, but nevertheless we just move on, and we're very optimistic for the coming season and the seasons, really.
Without giving any details away at this stage, could you give us an update on any potential second overseas player? Are there plans in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, that's a decision that will be made by the cricket steering group, led by Paul. I know Paul has been, had many. Occasionally, I come into some of those meetings. I know that Paul has spoken, at length with the whole coaching team of Alex and Kadir and Kevin and Alan, and also Moeen is really involved in those decisions as well. I think it's, if we can get the player of, a sufficient quality to improve our team, then I think, yes, absolutely, we will be signing a second overseas player. So watch your space.
One piece of news since your last video has been the confirmation of Brett Oliveira as our new club captain. I mean, have you had the opportunity yet to to speak to him in great detail or congratulate him? Because I mean, members seem delighted with that signing.
Yeah, I mean, I do have regular access to players, and obviously I was involved. Well, I was made aware of that decision before it went public. I'm really delighted for Brett. Obviously there's a lot of pride there, and there's obviously a lot of kind of history and legacy with his family. But I think more importantly, I think when you listen to some of the coaches, and obviously they know about cricket and they're experts. A couple of years ago, people like Kevin Sharp and Alex were saying to me that they thought that Brett was about to kind of really kick off in his career, and I think the last 2 years he's been an exemplary player. He's been I think an exemplary leader as well, even though he hasn't been captain. So yes, really excited. He'll bring his own kind of way of doing things. And I think he'll be really ably supported by those people like Joe Leach, and also some of the other more kind of mature, and indeed some of the younger players that form some of this kind of elite group within the team. So yeah, very excited for Brett, and obviously we wish him well.
Sadly, cricket in general has been in the headlines, in the news for some unsavoury reasons in recent months. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Fanos?
Yeah, I mean, I think when cricket hits the front pages for reasons of discrimination and also poor governance, then I think it is a disappointment. And I think it, I think it, everybody is sullied by it, and I think that's in some respects that can be a little bit harsh on certain clubs that have are quite comfortable in terms of their governance structures, or indeed are inclusive. I mean, I think from a Worcestershire County Cricket Club perspective, I think we pride ourselves on being an inclusive and diverse professional sports club, and we have a rich history of inclusion. I mean, it goes so far back. I mean, Moeen has publicly said about how how warm he has found the kind of whole environment in the last 14, 15 years that he's been here. I was really heartened by, I think it was George DeBell that wrote about the experiences of Graham Hick, volunteering to move his position to accommodate some of the kind of Mo as an example, and then you go back to our history of Vikram and even Damien D'Oliveira, late Damien, setting up our academy, and indeed going back to Basel, nearly 50 years ago. I think we are a wonderfully kind of inclusive and diverse club. I think our so from that respect, I think we're never complacent, but I think I think there's much that we can do in terms of kind of doing more, and there's things that we're actively doing. So I think from an inclusivity perspective, things are there's lots that we can be proud of, and there's lots that we can do. But I think from a governance perspective, I think what's really important is that when things do go wrong, you have an appropriate structure that can deal with it. And we've been through quite a lot of constitutional reform here at our club over the last 5 or 6 years, and we're quite confident that if there is a problem, we'll deal with it robustly and fairly with proper process. So I think the game has a lot to learn over the last kind of 3 to 6 months. We've got lots to improve upon, and I think it needs to happen quite quickly.
On the pitch, England's performances have come in for a lot of criticism in Australia. We're 3-0 down. We've lost the Ashes. As one of the 18 chair, what are your thoughts, and what do you think can be done to improve matters?
Well, I mean, we did speak briefly about this in our last video recording. I think that there has been an obsession with white ball cricket, and it's very easy to kind of over focus on new tournaments. The 100, for example. I mean, I've got a financial background, and what I do know is that what I was told was that the 100, for example, is 15% of total TV rights, and I've written about this before. So that indicates that 85% is all about red ball and test cricket and whatever. I think possibly by kind of shoehorning the county championship, the start and the end of the season, then you could argue that perhaps the 85% is only really being given 15% attention. And I think that balance needs to change, and I think there is a clamour for change. I think it's necessary, and I think it will happen. It might be too soon for this season, but we should wait and see.
You've always tried to be as open and as honest as possible with members, regular meetings, members forums online, etc. If things are okay COVID-wise, do you intend to continue the members forums on the first morning of championship matches?
Definitely. I mean, it's really important that Sarah and Dave and the coaching team get in front of members. It's we as the board represent members, so it's really important that we are in front of people that we represent and operate for. Had it not been for this Omicron, we would have we've already committed to having kind of ballots for members to maybe 20 or 30 of people could kind of meet a coach on an evening on the club. Obviously we've had to delay that, which is unfortunate, but as soon as we get the all clear to do that, we will do it, and I think it's really important that we continue to be as open as we can be with everybody.
Finally, Fanos, we are currently searching for a new charity partner for 2022.
Yeah.
How important is that initiative for both parties?
I think from a club perspective, it just indicates that we're more than just a cricket club. We recognise our role in the community. I think it's hopefully it's really important for for a charity. I mean, it's great for them financially, and hopefully it's great for their profile as well. Let me just give you some kind of sound bites on that. During lockdown in 2020, Alex Kidman's brilliant idea to do this rapid relay where everybody kind of ran for an hour. I think that raised just under 14,000 for Acorns Hospice. And last year our charity partner was St Richard's Hospice. We had their a logo all on shirts, and we kind of sold those shirts. But more, that was great because obviously raised money for them. But more to the point, it just raised the profile. So, I think 200,000 people or so were watching it on live stream, and we had over 1 million kind of impressions. So it's great for the profile of the charity. Now, I understand the deadline's the 31st of January. We've had quite a few people that have applied already to be the charity partner. There's a great team here at Worcestershire that are kind of looking at that whole process. It doesn't include me, but it includes people from the cricket club and also the recreational cricket board as well. We'd really encourage people to kind of apply for that, and good luck to those that do.
Well, thank you for your time, Fanos, and can everybody at Worcestershire hope you and your staff and everybody a successful 2022.
Thank you, John.